Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married business owners save their marriage without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and get clear on living their best lives. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, I'm really good. I enjoy our conversations, knocking these podcasts out one after another and chatting in between. And obviously, we're talking about Mexico, just going through which team members have won which awards. The team have voted for one another on who on the team displays each of our core values the most, and along with a few other awards as well. So the results are in. Obviously, we won't share them right now, but it's been cool to see who the team acknowledging.
It is. It is. It was crazy. People don't know that involved in the movement is much greater than this, but actually involved in the movement from, I guess, what you call an employment business perspective, the movement we call the Powerful Man. There's almost 30 people now,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. So what Tim and I have decided to do is fly the team down from all over the world to Cancun, and so we've rented two luxury villas right near each other on the beach, and we're going to have 4 days of absolute fun down there. There'll be some
It's
work
gonna be great.
and growth.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, this podcast will come out after Cancun, so
Yep.
the team aren't going to listen and get any ideas. It's going to be a lot of serious work.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be crazy because obviously, with COVID happening and various things, this will be the first time we've actually got to meet some of the team in person. They've been working with us for years.
Yeah. You know
It's
what's crazy is yesterday I was
awesome.
talking to my wife. I took my wife out on a date yesterday, which had a blast. And we were in the car, and she was asking me, like, what am I looking forward to for Cancun? And one of the things I started talking about the people, I'm like, well, who exactly have you met? Like, clearly you've met Ryan, and clearly you've met Arthur, and she's like, no, I haven't. I've met Tim and I've met Lee, and that's it. And that blew me away, right?
Wow.
That really blew me away because Arthur has stayed at my house, right? Stayed at our house when we were living on the beach
Yeah.
for a while, and has been around for a long time. Ryan as well. So it just goes to show you in this day and age where we get to know people so often remotely via Zoom or phone calls or FaceTime or whatever it may be. That's a lot of us
Mhm.
keep in contact with our families, right? Our kids and their grandparents connect via FaceTime. And we make assumptions. I just assume that everybody knows each other because it's just such great people involved in the organization.
Yeah, it really is. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. It is. So, Tim, what do you have on the table for us today?
So this is actually something that came up on one of the calls that one of our advisors was doing. One of the men who had applied to join the program, and he had had a conversation with her, shared his experience about his marriage and what was going on for him, and he really wanted to step into the program and join it. And he had various different concerns. And you know what it's like. Oftentimes, the first concern isn't usually the real one in whatever conversation you're having with anyone, right? So as they kind of went through these various different concerns, she ended up at a point where she was confused. It's like, Tim, is what's really going on for you? Because first you said it was this and we fixed that. Then you said it was that and we covered that one. Then you said it was this other thing. We fixed that. So what's really going on? Why are you not stepping to the line when you're saying that this is what you need to do? Because if you don't do it, then some terrible things may happen. And what came out of it was the fact that he was scared. The idea that change is daunting. So I know I've felt this before. I mean, you and I have been in a conversation over the past couple of weeks where we were looking at making a, a large investment in our own education and growth. And I get it. At times, that uncertainty can be a little bit daunting, can be a bit worrying. When I remember the first time I ever invested in myself, in my own growth and development. Again, the change was daunting, but it was so worth it, and I knew it had to be done. So anyway, I think the guys listening will relate to this. I know a lot of the guys in the movement all went through that same feeling of fear and fear of the unknown and what if this doesn't work and will I have wasted money and wasted time that I can't get back? And all the other different variations of that. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit and maybe shed some light on what's really going on for the men when they're in this position and what they can do to move through it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great topic coming through. And I think a lot of guys face this. There's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's a
Ah,
famous
that's a
book
great one.
in business. And I've
Yeah.
given it out to, geez, a lot of people. It's not my most gifted book, but it was a book I've given out quite a bit, especially early on in my business career, managing people at a young age. When I realized there's some people out there that just don't enjoy change as much as I do. I'm one of those crazy
Mm,
entrepreneurs. I love things moving fast and changing all around me. However, a lot of people don't. They like things to be very consistent. And so the premise of Who Moved My Cheese is a story about basically it's a mouse, right? There's a maze that's put out there, and scientists would put the cheese at the end of the maze. The mice would figure out where it is. They learn the maze. They do it time and time again. Let's just say I haven't read this in 20 years, more than 20 years. But the premise essentially is when they would move the cheese, the mice would freak out, right? They move it to a different part of the maze. And the idea is that people just inherently most don't like change. Change is hard, right? And we've talked about this before. I was telling a guy just the other day in one of our calls, and he was talking about this whole idea of change. And really what I told him, Tim, and the guys listening to this, was when you think about it, you're built for homeostasis. You're built to stay the same place. Your ego is designed to keep you where you are. Why? Because it's safe, right?
hmm
You have no immediate threats. You're not going to die where you are right now. Does it suck? Yes. But is it safe? Yes. And so you are going to fight the change all over the place because it's comfortable where you are. The problem is change is hard, but also being where you are right now is hard.
hmm
So you just get to choose your hard. You get to choose your difficulty. You get to choose what you want to do. Is what you have now good enough? Right? Is that just good enough for the rest of your life to be in the state that you're in? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then guess what? That's going to require some change.
Mm. Yeah, you raise a great point. I was just thinking back to the conversation that this person had with the advisor, and he shared how, look, if things don't change, what might happen might be that him and his wife get divorced. And if you take that a step further, okay, if you and your wife get divorced, then how does that affect the kids? Do you get them? Does your wife get them? Do you split it? Yeah, I don't really thought of that. Probably my wife might get more of it. Okay. And what happens with the house? Do you stay in the house? Does she take the house? Do you sell the house? Oh, yeah. Good question. I mean, I don't want to uproot the kids because they're friends here and they go to school here, so we'd probably want to keep them in this house because it's tough to get a house nearby. It's a popular neighborhood. Tough to get a family house anyway. So I think I'd probably have to move out. And okay, so if you then move out, how does that affect finances? Yeah, I've not thought about that. So the point of this is change is going to happen, whether it's in the scenario of this conversation or it's in the scenario of your health. Change is always happening. To your point, homeostasis and ego, 100%. And at the same time, if we look at anything in the world, it is constantly changing. Change is always happening. It's a question of whether you want it to happen to you or through you for the most part. For example, this guy, he can choose to stay where he is in the hope that the change won't happen. However, he's smart enough to see, well, you know what? If things don't change, the likelihood is bum, 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 bum. And for the most part, when the guys say that to us, usually those warning shots have been fired by the wife many, many times, and she's way further out of the relationship than he even realizes.
Yep.
So that likelihood often happens much faster than the guys realize. But anyway, smart enough to be able to look over the brow of the hill, see what's coming, look at the consequences of that, but hopes that it doesn't happen Yet the flip side of that is he could just take control of the situation instead of being out of control, because doing nothing is being out of control. And that's the real fear here. The real fear of change is I feel out of control and need to feel in control. And as a business owner, for the most part, you're used to being in control in a lot of ways anyway. So you can choose to have the change happen through you, make a decision, run towards the daunting change, realize that everything is always changing anyway. And it's what's better? Is it easier for it to happen to you, or is it easier for it to happen through you?
Yeah, I think also what thing that happens for a lot of these guys, Tim, is they think of, oh, I'm tired. Now I got to put in work to change myself to better my marriage. For
Mm,
her, it's her that needs to change. All these stories that come in. And what happens is these guys have this, they're just exhausted. And I get
mm,
it, right? We've all got a lot going on. If you've got kids, right? You're taking kids to games and all kinds of other things. And now you're going to go take a course for 8 weeks on how to better your marriage. Oh, gosh, like I really have the energy to do all this. And the truth is, you gotta look at this, guys, from the perspective of what's going to cost you more energy, right? The divorce and separation,
mm,
or actually working on yourself. Divorce and separation, you're going to lose. No matter what, you lose, period. You lose energy, you lose time, you lose money, you lose resources, you lose all these things that come out of that. However, if you change yourself, even if you go through the divorce and separation, you come out a better man. So that's an investment that compounds over time. That's worthwhile. Also, something to consider here is the rocking chair test, right? What I would tell this guy is, look, okay, what's more important? You know, you and I are sitting on the porch, you're 75, sipping some lemonade, maybe a glass of whiskey. As some of the guys have always to keep interrupting me and telling me, like, Doug, I'd be drinking whiskey or bourbon. Okay, you're having your bourbon and you're looking back at your life. Are you happier that you invested an extra, I don't know, let's just call it 4 hours a week into your business at this stage? Or are you happier that you invested 4 hours into your marriage and your relationships with the people that you love the most? Because what happens when you go through the activation method and you become reactivated, this not only helps your marriage, this helps your relationship with your kids, your son, your daughter. This helps your relationship with your parents. This helps your relationship with your siblings. This helps your
mm,
relationships with all the people in your company and all the people around you, right? The marriage is what we focus on because that's the pivotal one that causes the most hardships. However, the skills and techniques we teach and the guys embody will change them forever in all their areas. And so the answer is obvious. You're sitting on that rocking chair. You're saying, geez, there's no doubt that when I look back at my life, I would be happy that I invested into my relationships because that's what all of us say is the most important thing. And as Tim said, every time, like what I say to people, show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities. Pull your calendar up right now and I'll show you exactly what your priorities are. And if I don't see your relationships or you studying how to get better at your relationships or practicing, then it's not a priority. You're just giving it lip service. It's like being,
mm,
it's like being overweight and saying you want to lose weight, but all you're doing is eating Twinkies and nachos. That's not, you're lying. You're lying to yourself. So just give up and just say, you know what? I'm just going to be fat. That's who I'm going to be. That's what I want.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's to your point of tiredness, right? I'm too tired now. I've got to do this thing, this transformation, this change. It's going to take more energy. Worthwhile knowing for our program. I think this is true of a lot of change. Oftentimes, the thing that's making you tired is the indecision,
Yeah,
right? Oftentimes, once you make a decision and you commit to something, you can immediately feel lighter because the
absolutely.
weight of the indecision is gone. I'll speak for our program. What we often find with the men coming in is if you imagine your life as a bucket and you are just cranking up the tap, pouring water in this bucket, and you're looking at the bucket and you're thinking, hang on a minute, why is that bucket not overflowing? I mean, I'm putting so much into it. Why is it not overflowing? And then you take a closer look and you realize there are some leaks in the bucket. And no matter how much pressure comes through that tap, no matter how much effort you put into turning up that tap, and no matter how much water flows into the bucket, it's never going to rise until you learn to plug those leaks. And oftentimes when the men come in and we get them to stop doing a lot of the things they're doing wrong, to be honest, or wrong is maybe the wrong word, just unnecessary. They're wasting a lot of unnecessary energy and resources on things they just don't need to be doing. For example, caring too much about what others think, caring too much about what their wife thinks, trying to please their wife and second guess and do everything to make them happy. And when we actually get them to stop doing the things that are ineffective, those leaks in the bucket are plugged and the bucket begins to rise. And all of a sudden, they go from a place of tiredness and stagnation to one of energy and
Mm,
movement. And
mm.
it's not by doing more, it's actually by doing less. I mean, for example, Doug, you and I said at the beginning, we're interviewing various people who we may invest with for our growth and development. The one we've just spoken to recently is a peak performance coach who's worked with some top athletes, some top businessmen. These are guys that you will have heard their names of on playing in the US Open and things like that. And one of the things he said to me was, Tim, peak performance is much less, it's not to do with adding more, but it's actually about taking things away. A lot of the work we do will be around subtraction. And it's the same point. You feel tired, you don't want to change because it's daunting. You're scared of, or you're worried about how much more energy it may take, but in actual fact, it's going to require less energy of you. And as soon as you get off the fence, it's just so much easier.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And again, guys, I'm going to leave you with this thing. I'm going to say over and over to you guys is choose your hard, right? It's going to be
Mm.
hard. Like if you're a business owner, is it easy? No. It's easier as we get through systems and we've been doing this for a long time, becomes easier. But the game of business itself isn't. But also not being successful, being bankrupt, not having any money sucks. That's hard. Making a lot of money is hard. They're both difficult. Choose your hard. In my experience, making a lot of money is easier than being bankrupt, right? In my experience, as a man who's been in your situation in one way or another, who's had a marriage that's been really rough, I'll tell you what, that is a lot harder than the change that I've had to go through in order to get to the other side. This side of the fence is much better, guys. Yes, it takes work, but it is so much better and so worth it. And I would hasten to say that every guy says the same thing, right? Every single one. It's worth it. Yes, you could slip. Yes, you could fall, right? That's why we have coaches who have seen this happen before and can get you right back up on your feet. So it doesn't take years or even months. It takes days to jump back onto that horse, maybe even less. But that's the difference. You get to choose your hard. Stop making excuses. This is time for you to step up, put your big boy pants on, and get to work. That's all it is. If you want it, go get it. And if it's your marriage, freaking go get it. Go get activated, right? If it's business, go get it. Get a business coach, right? Get somebody who's going to help shorten the gap of time. That's what you guys need. And that's what you deserve. It's your health. Look, go get it. Get a nutritionist, get a trainer, join the gym, do those things that you need to do. Turn off the Kardashians or whatever else people watch these days. I know our guys probably aren't watching the Kardashians, but you get the idea, guys, right? This is your chance, right? If not now, when? If not now, when? Point to someday on your calendar. It doesn't exist. There's no day on your calendar that says someday. So it's just going to get kicked down the road again, just like those Italian lessons you keep talking about, or playing the guitar, or whatever else it is that you've had on your goals list for the last 5 years or a decade. No, don't make it that. This is your relationships. This is your health. This is the betterment of your life. This is the time to do it.
Perfect. What a great ending.
Well, in that case, guys, as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. And we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.